Queenslanders will continue to pay just 50 cents for public transport after the LNP government decided to make permanent the former government's 6-month trial. The cheap fares were offered by former Premier Stephen Miles as a way of buying votes just before the last election and of addressing cost of living and hopefully removing some cars from the roads. And it worked. Well, not the buying votes part. No amount of bribery could convince Queenslanders to give giggles another go. But in terms of getting people to use public transport, it seems to have been an overwhelming success. The Transport Department released figures showing that the use of public transport in Queensland had increased by 18.3% during that 6-month trial compared to the same 6-month period in 2023. As you can see on the screen, light rail usage increased by 27.5%, rail 18.6%, ferry usage increased by 42.8%, and buses were up 15.8%. So the LNP announced today 50-cent fares would remain, but they would cost taxpayers $1.5 billion over the next 4 years. Good decision or bad decision? Caleb, I'm looking forward to 50-cent coffees and 50-cent hamburgers.
Well, if only the government provided those services, then maybe they would be able to reduce the cost of them to 50 cents. But I think it's an eminently sensible thing to do. The evidence has shown that it works. If that means you've had such an increase, 20% more people getting on the bus, well, that's 20% fewer cars on the road. Because, of course, a bus, if you can get 60 people in it, that's potentially minimum 30 cars, maximum 60 on the road. I mean, if you can eliminate all of that every single day, that's fantastic, especially for those of us who drive around in cars, because it means I can go to work faster. So, yippee, I think it's great. I mean, Townsville was 49.29% increase in public transport use. And it was interesting that the numbers showed that regionally it really increased the use of public transport, because I suppose if you live in a regional area, you're probably more likely to think, oh, well, I'll get in my car, because a lot of the things that you would do normally require you to use a car. And of course, if you've got to go to town, for instance, you're going to get in a car. So you get into a habit of using a car. But Townsville, 42.29%, Gympie, 49%, Mackay, 40%, Sunshine Coast, 37%, Gold Coast, 21%, Logan, 21%. And the cost of running public transport that comes from fares is minimal. There was a report, secret report, it was only leaked to the media, that's the only reason we know about it, but the New South Wales government did an evaluation of what its public transport system costs in 2022, and they found that only 10% of the costs were covered by fares and other revenue. So what we are paying when we tap an Opal card in New South Wales or a Myki in Queensland or the Trans card, whatever it's called up in, not transgender, but it's called Transdev, I can't remember, I've got one at home somewhere. But when you tap the card, what you're paying to use the bus or the train is actually a very small amount of what it costs the government to run that service. So if we're already happy as taxpayers to subsidise the running of public transport by 90%, what's wrong with making it, 100% or 95% with a 50-cent fare if it means people actually use the service?
I was going to say, Liz, they've still got ticket inspectors. Anyway. Why would you be inspecting for tickets? Like if someone pays 50 cents or doesn't pay 50 cents. Right.
That's about
the union says
how
that.
Many people, yeah, exactly. They probably struck that deal before Giggles even put this legislation in place to be like, yes, we're trying to win votes, but also no one's going to lose their job as a result. But what you have here is essentially what a lot of government policies do. Of course, it's not cheaper. The people commuting every day are only paying 50 cents, yay for them, but the taxpayer is picking up the tab, hence this $1.5 billion price tag on this. So essentially it means that the taxpayers of Queensland who don't use these facilities, who aren't commuting to work every day, who aren't using public transport, are now paying far more than their share.
But the users, the people of Queensland who don't use the public transport also reap the benefit of the fewer cars on the road because they're driving, right? So indirectly, you're paying extra, sure, but you're actually getting a benefit out of it yourself.
Not really. You're paying extra for the public transport that you're not using while putting out for rego, car insurance, the petrol you're paying for. Owning a car in a city nowadays is extremely expensive exercise. Absolutely, everybody watching is nodding your head right now, aren't you? And so I don't think that that's fair at all. As a commuter, if you choose. And to say that, oh, well, the motorists are coming out on top because then there's less people on the roads, but the people then opting for their 50-cent fare and no longer having to pay for the petrol, potentially getting rid of their car altogether, not having to pay the rego, not having to pay the insurance, all the savings are on them. And again, the motorist is not coming out on top at all.